Hey guys, tonight we step into the haunted light of a geyser evening, where the sand still hums with the day's heat, but the shadows stretch long and cool. You wiggle your toes, barefoot, because some idiot, you thought ancient Egypt meant perfectly manicured beaches. The air smells of baking bread, donkey sweat, and the faintest whiff of mummy preservatives, like rosemary, if rosemary could also curse. You probably won't survive the night, not because of curses, but because you just tried to pet a stray cat. That's definitely a priest in disguise. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where's everyone listening from? Drop your city and local time in the comments. I'm curious who's drifting off to the land of pharaohs at 3 a.m. again. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The marketplace is folding itself up for the night, awnings collapsing like tired eyelids. A merchant eyes your modern clothes, sweatpants, let's be real, and sniffs. You look like a scribe who lost his papyrus. Ouch! You're about to retort when a slab of shadow moves. Oh, just the Sphinx, stretching its limestone paws after a long day of glaring at tourists. Its nose is still missing. Thanks, Napoleon's army. Probably, but it manages to look smug anyway. You shuffle toward the pyramids, their edges softening in the twilight. The Great Pyramid of Khufu looms, its casing stones once so polished they reflected sunlight like a disco ball for the gods. Now, it's a bit rugged, like a celebrity after a long flight. A guard leans on his spear, yawning. "Come to see the king's staircase to heaven," he asks. "It's closed. Try again in, 4,000 years." Sand trickles between your toes as you circle the base. The stones are massive. Each one weighs as much as a pickup truck, and there are over 2 million of them. Scholars still argue whether they were dragged, rolled, or lifted by sheer ego. You press your palm against the limestone. It's still warm. Somewhere inside, the pharaoh's sarcophagus waits, empty. Tomb robbers, history's original influences. A child runs past, giggling, a stolen fig clutched in their fist. The sound bounces off the pyramid's face, echoing like a whisper from the past. You glance up. The first stars are peeking out. The imperishable ones, the Egyptians called them, believing they were the souls of the blessed dead. A priest nearby mutters about lazy constellations and adjusts his star chart. The desert wind carries a snippet of song from a nearby tavern. Someone's drunk enough to attempt a hymn to Uther. It's off-key, very off-key. You catch the scent of beer, thick, bready, and probably safer to drink than the Nile water. Yes, they filtered it with barley. No, it didn't help. As the last light fades, the pyramid's shadow stretches toward you like an invitation. Or warning. Either way, it's bedtime for the builders. Somewhere, a scribe is rolling up his papyrus. An artist is rinsing blue paint from his hands, lapis lazuli, imported at ruinous cost. And a baker is slapping dough for tomorrow's bread. You yawn. The sand is cooler now. The stars are brighter. And the Sphinx is definitely judging your life choices. The Sphinx's gaze follows you like a disappointed parent. Its lion body is sprawled lazily, but those eyes, chipped by time, wind, and possibly one too many desert storms, still pierce right through your soul. Or maybe it's just indigestion from that questionable fig you ate earlier. You step closer, sand whispering underfoot. Up close, the Sphinx isn't just big, it's rude levels of imposing. The face might be Pharaoh Khafre's, or it might be the god Harmachis, or it might just be some stonemason's inside joke. Archaeologists still bicker about it over very expensive coffee. The stone is pockmarked and weathered, but you swear, as the breeze curls around its ears, you hear words. Not real words, obviously, unless you've been hitting the temple wine way too hard. But the wind funnels through cracks and hollows, shaping sounds almost like speech. Pust, hey, your sandals untied. You look down. You're not even wearing sandals. Classic Sphinx prank. A guard nearby snorts. First time, it does that. Some say it's the voice of the gods. Others say it's just the wind. Me? I think it's bored. He pats the Sphinx's paw like it's an old dog. Been sitting here for millennia. Got to pass the time somehow. You circle around to the back. Less majestic, more forgotten laundry pile. The tail is half buried in sand, and the repaws have seen better days. There's even graffiti from ancient Greek tourists. Alexandros was here. Some things never change. Then, wait. Between the paws, there's a shadow that doesn't quite match the rest. A dip in the stone, a hidden alcove. You crouch, brushing away dust. The guard coughs loudly. I'd stop there if I were you. Last guy who went poking around the Sphinx's paws got cursed with 7 years of bad harvests. Or maybe it was 7 years of bad dates. Either way, not worth it. You stand up. Fine. No cursed treasure hunting tonight. But as you step back, the wind swirls again. And this time, the Sphinx's murmur sounds suspiciously like laughter. The scent of cumin and crushed coriander pulls you away from the Sphinx's riddles and into the labyrinth of the marketplace. Stools sag under the weight of clay jars, woven baskets, and the collective exhaustion of merchants who've been haggling since sunrise. The sun's last rays gild the dust in the air, turning the whole scene into a flickering dream. A vendor waves a string of garlic at you like it's a sacred relic. Fresh from the Nile Delta, keeps evil spirits away. And, certain unwanted relatives. He winks. You don't ask. Behind him, a pyramid-shaped stack of melons wobbles precariously. Also good for building small monuments. He adds as one rolls away, pursued by a giggling child. You sidestep an argument between a linen seller and a priest over thread count. The gods demand finer weave. The gods aren't paying my bills. Nearby, a butcher cheerfully hacks at a haunch of something unrecognizable. Gazelle, you guess. Donkey. The butcher grins, revealing a gold-capped tooth. Yes, at the edge of the market, a fortune teller crouches over a scattering of bones. Her bracelet clink as she grabs your wrist. I see a long journey, she intones. You glance down at your sandals. I walked here from the riverbank. Undeterred, she squints at the bones. And you will soon encounter a tall, mysterious figure. Behind her, a camel belches loudly. The real prize, though, is the bee stall. The brewer, a woman with biceps that could crack walnuts, dunks a clay jug into a vat of murky liquid. Sweet or sour, she demands. You choose poorly. The sour option tastes like fermented bread punched you in the tongue. Good for digestion, she lies. A scribe at the next stool chugs his and immediately starts composing a love poem to a date palm. As torches gutter to life, the market's colors deepen. Ochre, indigo, bronze, and the crowd thins. A stray dog trots past, licking at a spilled pomegranate. Somewhere, a flute trills, then gives up mid-note. The merchants pack up with the weary grace of people who'll do this all again tomorrow. You pocket a handful of pistachios, no one's looking, and melt into the shadows. The last merchants fold their tents like closing flowers as the first oil lamps bloom against the twilight. Their flames dance in tiny clay dishes, throwing wobbling shadows that make the hieroglyphs on the walls seem to shimmy. You half expect Anubis himself to step out of the flickering darkness and ask if you've seen his missing jackal leash. A potter's apprentice rushes past, arms stacked with freshly fired lamp holders shaped like lotus blossoms. One wobbles. Catch it! Someone yells, but it smashes spectacularly instead. The boy freezes, eyes wide. Then, from the shadows, a chuckle. That's coming from your beer ration for, the next decade. You follow the glow toward the scribe's quarter, where the light slants through papyrus-thin window screens. Inside, a junior scribe gnaws his reed pen, glaring at an account tablet like it personally offended his ancestors. Third shipment of cedar logs from Byblos, missing again, he mutters. Either those Phoenicians are terrible at math, or someone's building a secret boat. Outside the temple precinct, a priest lights the ceremonial lamps with a long cedar taper. The oil smells of sesame and something earthier, castor bean, maybe, or the crushed dreams of apprentices who had to press the seeds. As he moves down the line, his shadow stretches tall behind him, morphing into something distinctly ibis-headed. Thoth, god of wisdom, or just a trick of the light. You blink, and it's just a tired priest again, rubbing his lower back. Near the water clock, a group of off-duty laborers play a rowdy game of Senate by lamplight. One slams down a piece. Your KA is doomed to wander the duat for eternity. His friend groans. You say that every round. Just let me lose in peace. The dice roll, carved from hippo ivory, because nothing says friendly wager like stolen river monster teeth. The lamps gutter as a night breeze snakes through the streets, carrying the distant sound of a lyre from some noble's house. The melody is sweet, though the singer keeps forgetting the words. Almighty Ra, you rise so, shiny and something about a boat. You lean against a sun-warmed wall as the stars emerge. The lamps burn lower. Somewhere, a cat yowls. Somewhere else, a scribe snores face down on his work. The night stretches before you, full of shadows that might be ghosts, or priests, or just really committed mime artists. The flickering lamplight leads you to a circle of listeners gathered around a storyteller whose beard could house a family of scarab beetles. He perches on a crumbling block of limestone, one sandal dangling precariously as he leans forward. You think you know the pyramids, he whispers, voice like grinding millstones. Child, you don't even know the dust between the stones. A laborer scoffs, arms crossed over his chest. I laid 12 courses of granite at Abu, sir. I think I know stones. The storyteller's grin widens. But did your stones sing? The crowd stills. Even the mosquitoes pause mid-bite. He spins a tale of the builder's secret, how the great obelisks were raised not by ramps, but by the whispered names of the gods, how the very rocks grew lighter when priests chanted the right syllables. A potter's daughter gasps. That's nonsense, mutters a scribe, but he doesn't leave. No one does. You shift closer, your shadow merging with the others. The storyteller's hands carve shapes in the air. A pyramid, a falcon, a coiled serpent. When Khufu's architect died, he murmurs, they buried him inside the very walls he designed. His spirit still walks the corridors, checking the angles with his sacred cubit. Someone in the back makes a sign against evil. The storyteller winks. Relax. He only curses people who use incorrect measurements. A drunk linen weaver hiccups. My uncle swears he saw a ghost carrying a plumb bob. The circle erupts in laughter, but it's nervous laughter, the kind that glances over shoulders. The storyteller soaks it up, then drops his voice to a threadbare whisper. The real guardians aren't the statues or spells. They're the stories, the ones that stick in your ribs like old bread, the ones that make you check behind you in dark passageways. As if on cue, a gust of wind extinguishes 3 lamps. The crowd yelps. The storyteller chuckles. Or maybe it's just the draft from the Sphinx's left nostril. The storyteller's words still prickle your neck as you slip into the dim glow of a baker's stall, where the air hangs thick with the scent of scorched grain and ambition. The baker, a flour-dusted mountain of a woman, slams a loaf onto the counter with the finality of a judge passing sentence. Last one. Fight the jackals for it if you must. A merchant in stained linen elbows past you, sniffing the bread like a connoisseur of questionable decisions. Too much barley, he declares. The baker's eyelid twitches. It's all barley. Wheat's for pharaohs and fools with trust funds. She leans in, conspiratorial. Though if you've got a little extra copper, I might know a guy who knows a guy who bakes something whiter. You glance at the suspiciously pharaonic seal on a covered basket nearby. That guy wouldn't be you, would it? The basket squeaks. Neither of you comment on it. Across the alley, the beer stall's aficionados are deep in their cups, literally. A sailor sings a slurred hymn to Uther, goddess of drunken bad decisions, while his friend faceplants into a bowl of fermented dates. The brewer, a man with forearms like temple columns, sighs and pokes him. You're breathing it. That's wasteful. You trade a bead. Where'd you get that? For a jug of the special reserve, a murky liquid that smells like a swamp's regret. The first sip tastes like someone dissolved a loaf of that dubious bread in Nile water and added attitude. Good, yes, grins the brewer. Strain it through your teeth unless you like crunchube. A commotion erupts near the spice sacks. A priest and a fishmonger locked in heated debate. You said this myrrh was pew, accuses the priest, shaking a pouch. The fishmonger shrugs. It's pure something. Maybe it's May. Maybe it's ground up beetle wings. The gods love mystery, don't they? As you retreat, gnawing on your illicitly soft bread, a child tugs your sleeve. Pust, want real honey? Stole it myself. They proudly display a dripping comb, suspiciously free of bee stings. Beekeepers asleep. Again, you trade a glance with a nearby cat. It licks its paw, unimpressed. The night hums with bartered secrets and half-truths, a symphony of survival where every deal leaves someone grinning and someone else picking date pits from their sandals. The Hunnismead child darts off into the shadows as you drift toward a cluster of men crouched in the sand, their fingers tracing invisible lines between flickering oil lamps. One adjusts a palm fiber rope stretched taut between two stakes, muttering about cosmic alignment and that bastard Thoth moving the stars again. A young apprentice, barely older than the honey thief, nudges a pebble with his toe. Master, the plumb bob's swinging weird tonight. The architect squints upward. That's because someone used the sacred measuring cord to tie up his lunch bundle. The apprentice turns the color of a pomegranate. You crouch beside them as they debate the angle of the descending passage. See that star? The architect points to Sirius, blazing just above the pyramid's shadow. When it kisses the horizon at dawn, the Nile rises. When it aligns with this corner, he stabs a finger at a sketch diagram. The papyrus promptly rolls shut, swallowing his calculations. Gods damn it. A priest in leopard skin robes glides over, eyeing their work. The heavens don't care about your scribbles. He sniffs. The sky's a scroll, and we're just reading the gods' handwriting. The architect rolls his eyes so hard you hear it. Tell that to Khufu when his burial chamber's off by a cubit. The apprentice tugs your sleeve. Want to see something really secret? He leads you to a shadowed alcove where a scaled-down pyramid model sits half-buried, a trial run in miniature, its limestone chipped from endless adjustments. We had to rebuild this 7 times, he whispers. First it was too steep, then too squat. Then the vizier said it lacked spiritual grandeur, whatever that means. Overhead, the Milky Way spills across the sky like a dropped necklace. The priest begins chanting, but it's interrupted by a loud thud from the workers' quarters. Someone's dropped a grinding stone. Again, the architect pinches the bridge of his nose. We're building eternity. Eternity shouldn't sound like a drunken ox parade. The apprentice grins, offering you a wedge of salty cheese. They say when the pyramid's done, the king's soul will climb these very stones to heaven. He nods at the model. Hope has got good sandals. The distant clatter of sistrums and the rich aroma of roasted duck lure you toward the palace grounds, where torches burn low and laughter spills over like overfilled wine cups. A harried servant nearly bowls you over, balancing a tower of honey cakes that wobbles precariously with each step. Out of the way unless you want to wear dessert. Through a gauzy curtain, you catch glimpses of the feast. Tables grown under whole roasted gazelles, their mouths stuffed with figs to make them smile for eternity, and pyramids of pomegranates so perfect they must have been arranged by obsessive-compulsive gardeners. A musician plucks a lute string. It snaps. Just pretend it was dramatic tension, he hisses to the others. At the high table, Pharaoh's wig glitters with golden beads as he leans toward his vizier. Remind me, why do we feed 300 people every night? The vizier doesn't glance up from his tablet. 2 reasons. Majesty. 1, it stops them from overthrowing you. 2, the duck is really good. You snag a passing tray of dates wrapped in bacon, imported from the north. Don't ask how. Just as a diplomat from Hatti loudly declares Egyptian beer like drinking a swamp's tears. The room freezes. A brewer steps forward, smiling dangerously. Say that again. Slowly. In the corner, a scribe records the festivities with the enthusiasm of a man calculating his own funeral costs. 5th course, roasted ibex. Nobleman Amenhotep declared it acceptable before vomiting in a potted palm. He sighs, blotting his papyrus. History will not remember this kindly. A crash. Someone's toppled a statue of Bastet. The culprit, a tipsy charioteer, bows deeply to the offended cat goddess. My lady, your beauty is only slightly diminished by being horizontal. The high priest facepalms so hard his eyeliner smudges. As you retreat, stick-fingered and slightly dizzy from stolen wine, a baker whispers to his friend. They say the pharaoh dreams of a pyramid so tall it'll poke the sun god's belly button. His friend belches. Let's hope he wakes up before they make us build it. The palace revelry fades behind you as you duck into a narrow alley where the moonlight doesn't quite reach. The air here smells of ink and stale incense. The scribal quarter. A papyrus scrap skitters past your foot, its hieroglyphs smudged by what looks like a horridly wiped wine stain. You press your ear to a cracked door and hear the rhythmic scratch of a reed pen. Then a frustrated groan. 3rd census this month. 3rd. Do they think babies are popping up like weeds? Inside, a scribe glares at his ledger, his lamp casting dramatic shadows under his eyes. His desk is a battlefield, crumpled papyrus, a half-eaten onion, why? And a tiny clay Sharpie figurine flipping the bird. You slip inside just as he mutters, if I have to write farmer, 2 sons, 1 donkey one more time, I'm defecting to Nubia. He looks up, spotting you. Oh good, you literate? Help me fake a plague. You lean over his shoulder. The ledger's columns swim with entries like Mere, baker's daughter, 12, ask again, and lost 3 goats to divine intervention, thieves. The scribe stabs his pen at a suspiciously blank section. The vizier wants this by dawn. I want to sleep. Let's negotiate. A thump from the back room makes you both freeze. Rats. He lies unconvincingly. Something growls. It's not a rat. Sacred temple cat. You raise an eyebrow. He sighs. Fine. My other job is translating tomb curses. The pay's better, but the clients are really demanding. He pulls aside a rug, revealing a trapdoor. Want to see something the priests don't want you to know. The wood creaks open, releasing a puff of dust and the distinct scent of conspiracy. Below, a single papyrus glows in the lamplight, a star chart with annotations in hurried hieratic. Turns out the eternal pyramid alignment, off by a finger's width. He grins. The universe won't end, but someone's definitely getting fired. Above you, a floorboard squeaks. The scribe blows out the lamp. Hide the onion, he whispers. The moment the lamp dies, the room becomes a living thing. Shapes slinking along the walls. The faint tap-tap of claws on clay tiles. The scribe's breath hitches. Don't move, he whispers. They are worse when you run. A pair of glowing eyes blink at you from atop a papyrus stack. Then another, and another. The temple cats have infiltrated, their tails flicking like impatient scribes marking errors in the air. One leaps down, landing with a thud that's too heavy for its size. Up close, its collar isn't just gold, it's inscribed. Property of Bastet. No refunds. The lead cat sniffs your sandal, then sneezes in disgust. You be near the fish market, the scribe translates helpfully. They hate that. The feline army parts as a massive tomcat saunters forward, his left ear notched from what looks like a very uneven knife fight. He stays at the trapdoor, then at the scribe, then, with deliberate menace, knocks over an ink pot. That's it, the scribe groans, grabbing a handful of dried fish from a drawer. Bribes. Again. He scatters the offering. The cats descend, purring like a fleet of tiny, judgmental chariots. The notched-ear Tom pauses to lick his paw, then bats the trapdoor shut with one swipe. Message received. As the feline horde disperses, one pauses to vomit artistically on a tax record. The scribe slumps against the wall. They are basted spies. Last week they caught a scribe fudging grain counts. Ate his entire left sandal. He rubs his temples. I'll have to move the star chart. Again. Outside, a night watchman's voice drifts by. All's well. Except for you. Taotep, your wife says you're late. The scribe snorts. Priorities. He relights the lamp, revealing hieroglyphic graffiti scratched into the wall. A crude cat wearing a pharaoh's crown. The caption, we see everything. Also, feed us. Dawn bleeds across the horizon as you slip out of the scribe's den, the cat's eyes still burning holes in your back. The air carries the rhythmic thunk of copper chisels. The night shifts last desperate attempts to meet quota before the overseers arrive. You follow the sound to the quarry's edge, where a crew of laborious wrestle a limestone block onto a wooden sled. Their backs gleam with sweat despite the morning chill. One spots you and grins, teeth flashing in a dust-caked face. Here to help, scribe boy, or just to tut at our form? The foreman barks orders, his voice hoarse from decades of yelling at the universe's stubbornest building materials. Lift with your legs, not your spine, unless you want to meet Anubis before lunch. The men groan but obey, heaving as one. The block shifts, barely. A child darts forward with a water skin, splashing the sled's runners. Wetwood slides better, she announces, like it's the world's most obvious secret. The foreman ruffles her hair. This one's smarter than all of you combined, and she doesn't whine about blisters. You crouch to run a hand along the stone's edge. It's smoother than expected, the surface still whispering the chisel's song. The laborer beside you scoffs. Oh, now you respect it. But when it's in the wall, just another boring rock. He spits. We move mountains, and history remembers the architect's name. A horn blaze. Breakfast. The men collapse where they stand, passing a clay jug of beer like it's the only thing tethering them to earth. One offers it to you. Go on. Tastes like despair and yesterday's regrets. You sip. It does. The foreman squints at the horizon, where the pyramid's shadow stretches toward them like a taunt. Khufu wants another 10 courses by next moon. He mutters. Might as well ask us to lasso the sun. The child tugs your sleeve. They say each stone has a name, she whispers. The big ones. They are stubborn. As if on cue, the block settles deeper into the sand, sulking. The quarry dust still clings to your skin as you wander toward the pyramid's base, where torchlight flickers across newly placed stones. A cluster of artisans huddle around a half-carved block, their chisels whispering secrets to the limestone. One carver, a woman with biceps that could crack granite, pauses to wipe her brow. "This one's fussy," she mutters, patting the stone like a temperamental donkey. "Wants to be a hawk, not a glyph." Her mallet taps a K-ful rhythm as she coaxes a winged shape from the rock. You trace the unfinished inscription beside it, a boat, a star, and something that might be a loaf of bread or possibly a very confused crocodile. The head scribe scowls at it. No. The heaven determinative goes after the solar bark, unless you want the king sailing into the duat backwards. The carver rolls her eyes. You try making eternity fit in a hand's width. A young apprentice tugs your elbow. "Pust, look, hey." He points to a tiny, hidden doodle near the base. A stick figure with an exaggerated wig, chasing a goat. "That's Vizier Imhotep. Allegedly." He grins. "The mortal cover it tomorrow. Our little gift to the future." Nearby, a priest inspects a freshly painted cartouche. The gold leaf glimmers as he tilts his lamp. "This king's name is one stroke too long," he sighs. "Either we fix it, or we tell him the afterlife has a character limit." The wind shifts, carrying the scent of wet ink and the distant bleat of a sacrificial goat, probably sensing it's in someone's doodle future. The carver stands back, squinting at her work. The hawk's eye stays back, alive in the flickering light. There, now it'll watch over the king's soul, or judge his life choices. Hard to say with hawks. High above, the moon aligns perfectly with the pyramid's apex, a coincidence the priest would definitely call divine. The scribe groans. "Great, now we have to date this thing." The stonemason's chisels fade into the distance as you follow the sound of water lapping against the docks. The Nile at night is a living thing, its dark surface broken by jumping fish, its banks humming with frogs tuning up for their midnight symphony. A fisherman's skiff bobs in the shallows, its owner snoring under a tattered net. The boat's prow is painted with wide, protective eyes, so the river doesn't sneak up on you. He'd slurred earlier after one too many cups of date wine. Now, his catch, 3 suspiciously small catfish, flops half-heartedly in a basket, plotting escape. You dip your fingers into the water. It's warmer than expected, like the river exhaling after a day of absorbing sunlight and gossip. A frog plops into the shallows, its croak vibrating through your palm. "HMPH amateur," mutters an old washerwoman scrubbing linens by moonlight. You should have heard them last flood season. Real drama. Downstream, a group of drunken scribes wade knee-deep, belting a hymn to happy so off-key it makes the reeds shudder. "Oh mudbringer, oh fart liker." Wait, no, that papyrus floats away, ink dissolving into the current. The lead scribe hiccups. Close enough. A sudden splash. Something large breaks the surface near the opposite bank. The washerwoman doesn't glance up. Hippo, or Sobek, or a very lost tax collector. She wrings out a tunic with practiced violence. Either way, not my problem until it eats someone's laundry. The fisherman snores louder. One of his catfish makes a break for it, flipping into the water with a triumphant plop. The remaining 2 exchange what can only be described as piscine side-eye. Somewhere beyond the papyrus thickets, a night heron croaks, the river's grumpy timekeeper. The frogs swell their chorus, the scribes harmonize, badly, and the Nile hums along, carrying it all toward the sea. The river's song fades behind you as you duck into a half-carved tomb, its entrance still smelling of fresh gypsum and crushed malachite. Inside, an artist balances on a rickety scaffold, his brush breathing life into the wall. A god's eye takes shape under his hand. First a curve of coal, then a flash of gold leaf that catches the lamplight just so. "Hold still," he mutters, not to you, but to the donkey in his mural, its ears twitching mid-gallop. You're supposed to be pulling the solar bark, not judging its upholstery. The paint pool at his feet ripples, though there's no draft. You step closer. The figures seem to shift when you blink. A dancer's hips sway further. A hunting dog's tail wags twice. The artist smirks. "Good, right?" Mix the pigments with a little natron. Makes them flexible. He dips his brush, and the river god's waves lap higher up the wall. A junior painter gasps as her freshly drawn goose tries to peck her finger. "Master, the Ujat just winked at me." The head artist sighs, probably because you painted the lashes uneven. Again, in the corner, a scribe's hastily sketched cat stretches, then pads off the mural to lick its paw on a nearby offering table. No one reacts. This is clearly normal. The artist leans in, lowering his voice. "Between us, the best tombs never stop moving. How else will the dead stay entertained for eternity?" He nods to a figure of Osiris, whose fingers are subtly inching toward a painted loaf of bread, though some are hungrier than others. A crash upstairs, the priests are arguing about lunch. The mural's birds take flight in a flurry of painted wings, settling just slightly further left than before. The overseas existential sigh still hangs in the air as you drift toward the pyramid's northern face, where a cluster of labors are very conspicuously not looking at a freshly exposed crevice between stones. One kick sand over it. The sand immediately trickles right back in. That's drainage, offers the youngest worker, sweating through his linen head wrap. "Full rain." His foreman slowly turns to stay at him. "Boy, we live in a desert. The last rain here was when a priest got overzealous with the libations." A low thrum pulses from the crevice, vibrating up through your sandals. The workers exchange glances. "That's just the wind," says one, too quickly. The angry wind, clarifies another, backing away. You crouch, pressing your palm to the stone. The vibration hums against your skin, rhythmic, almost mechanical. A muffled clank echoes up from the depths. The foreman's eye twitches. You heard nothing. Nothing. Unless you want to explain to Pharaoh why his pyramid's hiccuping. A passing architect pauses, squinting at the sand, now levitating slightly above the crevice. "Who?" He prods it with his cubit rod. The rod twangs like a plucked harp string. "That's new." From below, a voice yells something that's either lower the ropes or beware the grapes. Acoustics down there are terrible. The youngest worker whimpers. "Is it demons?" "Woes," mutters the foreman. "Probably engineers." As you retreat, a single copper tool clatters up from the darkness. A chisel, still warm. The architect pockets it. Finders keepers. Somewhere beneath your feet, something laughs. The pyramid's mysterious vibrations linger in your bones as you slip into the embalmer's workshop, where the air is thick with the cloying scent of myrrh and regret. A junior embalmer, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, pokes at a liver steeping in a jar of palm wine. It's supposed to turn that color. Right. Across the room, a senior embalmer sighs like a man who's seen too many creative interpretations of the afterlife. No, that is not how you position the canopic jars. Anubis doesn't care if Duamutef looks better on the left. It's tradition. You sidestep a puddle of something that smells like rosemary and bad decisions. The junior notices you and brightens. "You ever removed a brain through a nose?" "Hey," he thrusts a hooked bronze rod at you. It's like fishing, but spiritual. A crash from the back room. Someone yelps. "I told you to label the natron vats. This one's full of soup." The senior pinches the bridge of his nose. We are preparing nobles for eternal judgment. Eternal judgment. And yet somehow I am the one being punished. He gestures to a mummy mid-wrap. Its arms are crossed, but also holding a suspiciously modern-looking beer jug. The vizier's uncle insisted on provisions for the journey. At this rate, the duat's going to have a tavern. The junior leans in, whispering, "Pust, want to see something wild." He pulls aside a linen sheet, revealing a very confused-looking duck, half-wrapped in bandages. Noble's favorite pet, or possibly lunch. The order was unclear. From the ceiling, a single drop of resin plops onto the vizier's uncle's forehead. It rolls slowly, tragically, into his left eye. The senior embalmer stays heavenward. "Just take me now, Osiris." The duck quacks. The first blush of morning stains the eastern sky as you escape the embalmer's olfactory assault, stepping into air so crisp it feels like the world itself just took a deep breath. The dunes ripple toward the horizon, their crests gilded with light and dotted with small, curious shapes. Foxes. A vixen and her kits pick their way down the pyramid's shadow, their paws leaving delicate prints in the sand. One pauses to sniff at a dropped workman's sandal, then sneezes violently. "Told you," yips another, sounding suspiciously smug for a creature that weighs less than a decent loaf of bread. You freeze. The vixen's ears swivel toward you. For a heartbeat, you're locked in a staring contest with a desert ghost. Her eyes gold as the amulets the embalmers were just fighting over. Then she huffs and trots off, her tail flicking dismissively. Humans, always gawking. The kits, however, are fascinated. One bounds over to investigate your shadow, pouncing on it with all the grace of a drunken ibex. Another tries to bury a scrap of linen, your sleeve, somehow, while its sibling attempt to climb your leg like it's just another dune. From a nearby rock, the vixen watches with the exhausted air of a single mother who's very over today. Leave the hairless ape alone. They are delicate. The kit currently attempting to chew your belt free pauses. But it shines. The rising sun stretches their shadows long across the sand, tiny phantoms weaving between the monuments. The vixen yips once, and they vanish like mist, leaving only poor prints and the distinct impression you've been judged wanting. Somewhere behind you, a priest trips over a fox-dug hole and curses creatively. The wind carries back what might be a chuckle. The fox's paw prints fade into the warming sand as you duck into a dimly lit scribal office, where papyrus scraps pile like autumn leaves, and the air hums with the sound of a stylus scratching furiously against a tablet. The scribe, a wiry man with ink-stained fingers and the manic energy of someone 3 cups of strong tea too deep, doesn't look up as you enter. "Don't move." His voice is hoarse, his eyes locked on the hieratic script unfolding beneath his hand. "I've almost got this tax record to rhyme." A half-eaten honey cake sits forgotten at his elbow, its crumbs colonized by a determined line of ants. You watch as one hauls away a raisin like it's a stolen treasure. The scribe finally notices and bats them away with the edge of his palette. Third raid this week. At this point, I should just declare them dependents. He pushes a spare stool toward you with his foot, never breaking the flow of his writing. "You're literate? Good. Tell me if this sounds like a legal way to describe a missing goat, presumed ascended to celestial pastures, pending divine audit." You glance at the original complaint tablet. "Neighbor's kid ate my goat." Again, the scribe waves a dismissive hand. "Boring. My version might actually get the kid punished, or at least mildly inconvenienced." A muffled thump comes from the storage room. The scribe sighs. That's the archive cat. Is supposed to be hunting mice, but has developed a taste for census records. He raises his voice. "Stop eating the good papyrus, you little vandal." A soft crunching sound continues, unrepentant. The scribe rubs his temples, then offers you a wedge of salty cheese from a hidden drawer. Hey, the secret stash. Not for the ants. Somewhere outside, a donkey brays. The scribe's eye twitches, and that's the sound of my will to live galloping away. The scribe's cheese sits heavy in your stomach as you wander into the temple precinct, where the dawn light slants through high windows, painting the floor with geometric ghosts. A priest, barefoot, his leopard skin cloak draped carelessly over one shoulder, adjusts a scale made of gold and sighs like a man who's weighed one too many souls. Every morning, he mutters to no one in particular, I balance Marat against the hearts of the dead. Every afternoon, I listen to farmers argue that their cow definitely didn't eat a sacred lily. He flicks a speck of dust off the scale. The gods owe me. You watch as he rehearses the ritual, lifting an ostrich feather with practiced reverence. Symbol of truth. Symbol of justice. Also, he adds, sotto voce, extremely ticklish if you're not careful. The feather trembles in the breeze from an open window. See? Even the wind's undecided today. A junior priest scurries in, nearly tripping over his own sash. High priest. The baker's offering bread is burnt. He presents the offending loaf like it's a murder weapon. The high priest doesn't look up. Divine judgment is already upon him. Then, that's what happens when you skimp on barley for the third week running. He plucks a grape from the offering tray and pops it in his mouth. We'll call it a learning experience. From the shadows, a cat slinks forward and deposits a dead mouse at the high priest's feet. He stays at it. Is this a bribe or a threat? The cat licks its paw, enigmatic. You glance at the temple walls, where faded murals show Thoth recording the names of the righteous. The paint is chipped in places, specifically around the eternal reward section, where some hopeful soul has scratched in an extra loaf of bread. The high priest follows your gaze and sighs. Even immortality is negotiable, apparently. The temple's incense sticks to your clothes as you follow the sound of laughter and looms to the weaver's courtyard. Under a canopy of faded blue cloth, a dozen women spin flax into gold, or at least into something Pharaoh's accountants will call gold when they invoice the next trade delegation. A sharp-eyed elder snaps a thread between her teeth and eyes your tunic. Foreign weave, she pronounces. Probably unravels if you look at it wrong. Her neighbor snorts, like that Nubian envoy's robe last week. One tug and poof, suddenly it's a sash. A girl barely taller than her spindle leans in. Speaking of embarrassing unraveling, did you hear about the high priest's new wig? The loom stops. All eyes gleam with the sacred fire of gossip. That Asterisk thing. Asterisk the elder wrinkles her nose. Looks like a dead mongoose. I heard it's Syrian, whispers another, as if this explains everything. A crash from the dyer's vats interrupts them. A young apprentice emerges, arm-stained indigo to the elbows. The good news is, we've invented a new shade, she announces. The bad news is, it's called, oh gods, my hands are stuck together. The elder rolls her eyes and tosses her a jar of olive oil. Soak it off, and stop using the expensive vats for experiments. You run a hand along a nearly finished bolt of linen, smooth as water, cool as moonlight. The elder notices and smirks. Like it, that's for the princess's dowry, if she ever stops mooning over that charioteer. She leans in, between us. His biceps are the only thing holding that marriage treaty together. The looms creak back to life, weaving threads and scandals with equal skill. The linen maker's gossip fades behind you as you climb the temple's narrow stairway to the rooftop observatory, where a priest astronomer squints through a notched palm branch at the pre-dawn sky. His stylus hovers over a wax tablet, trembling with indecision. That can't be Sirius, he mutters. It's supposed to be over there. He jabs at a star chart, knocking over an inkpot. The black pool swallows half the constellation of Orion. Well, now it's definitely wrong. A junior priest yawns into his sleeve. Maybe the gods rearranged them. The gods have standards, the astronomer snaps. This is clearly the work of scribes. He glazes at the sky like it's personally betrayed him. First the lunar tables, now this. Next they'll tell me the Nile flows uphill. You peer through the sighting tool, a forked stick that smells suspiciously of yesterday's roasted duck. The stars swim in the thick air, refusing to hold still. The astronomer groans. See, even the sky's drunk. A crash below. Someone's dropped a ceremonial gong. The astronomer doesn't flinch. That'll be the dawn rite. Or someone finally murdered the cymbal player. He rubs his temples. I need more wine. Or less sky. Possibly both. The junior priest timidly offers a corrected chart. The astronomer squints at it. This says the dog star is now the hiccuping hippo. It's a draft. A gust of wind steals the papyrus, sending it fluttering toward the Nile like a disgruntled ibis. The astronomer watches it go. Fine, let the crocodiles do the math. The astronomer's grumbling fades into the distance as you descend toward the palace gates, where the night watch leans heavily on his spear, his helmet tilting perilously toward his left eyebrow. His yawn is so cavernous you half expect a desert fox to trot out of it. You, halt, he mumbles, blinking at you with the urgency of a sun-baked lizard. Or proceed. Honestly, I've lost track of threats today. A second guard snores against the wall, his shield serving as an impromptu pillow. The first guard prods him with a sandal. Wake up. The vizier's doing dawn inspections. Tell him I died, the sleeper replies, rolling over. Resurrect me at lunch. You pee past them into the courtyard, where a servant frantically sweeps date pits under a rug. The guard follows your gaze and sighs. Just don't tell anyone about that. Or the goat incident. Or is interrupted by his own yawn. The thing with the lettuce and the chariot. Allegedly. A sudden clatter of hooves. The vizier's procession approaches. The sleeping guard bolts upright, slamming his helmet onto his head backwards. I'm awake, very vigilant. The first guard squints at the horizon. That's just a donkey. Exactly, hisses the second. They are clever. The vizier's actual arrival is heralded by the unmistakable sound of someone tripping over a loose tile. The guards snap to attention, their spears crossing with a clack that sounds suspiciously like we are so fired. From the rooftops, a lone cat observes the chaos, its tail flicking in quiet judgment. The guard's sleepy muttering fades as you follow the scent of scorched grain to the bakery, where a flour-caked figure slams a tray of loaves into the oven with the wrath of a minor deity. The heat hits you like a slap. This close to the fires, even the air tastes like bread. Don't stand there, growls the baker, tossing a lump of dough from hand to hand like it offended his ancestors. Either help or be helpfully edible. A child, possibly his apprentice, possibly a hostage, darts past with an armful of kindling. The vizier's wife wants heart-shaped loaves today. She pants. For romance. The baker's eye twitches. Romance asterisk is why we're out of decent flour. That and the sacred hippo's sacred sweet tooth. Asterisk, he slams another tray down hard enough to rattle the cooling racks. Next they'll want hieroglyphic baguettes. You grab a peel and attempt to slide a loaf into the oven. It sticks, folds, and emerges looking like a disgruntled owl. The baker stays at it. We'll call that experimental. From the alley, a donkey brays. The baker hurls a roll at the sound. And you can wait your turn, you long-eared flour thief. The child leans in. He hates the donkey. Last week it ate his favorite apron. It had pockets. A crash from the storeroom. The baker doesn't turn. Rat. Or scribe. Either way, stab first. The first rays of sun gild the rising steam, turning the bakery into a hazy dream of golden crusts and muttered curses. Somewhere, a temple bell rings. The baker groans. Right, time to burn the sacrificial loaves. The baker's curses fade into the morning bustle as you step into a sunlit courtyard where a pack of children dart between laundry lines, their bare feet kicking up puffs of dust. A girl with braids like coiled rope brandishes a stick at her friend. I'm the pharaoh today, but I'll tax your goats. My asterisk goats. Asterisk, the boy clutches his chest in outrage. You wish your pyramid was as nice as my pyramid. He dumps a bucket of sand over his head to emphasize the point. A toddler in nothing but a beaded necklace toddle through the chaos, waving a half-eaten onion like a scepter. The self-proclaimed pharaoh immediately kneels. O mighty king, your onion is very shiny. The toddler gurgles and drops it into a mud puddle. A wise decree. Near the well, a group reenacts the Battle of Kadesh with startling accuracy. If Kadesh had been fought with date pits and a very opinionated chicken. Ramses never retreated, yells one, hurling a clod of date. Yeah? Then why's his statue always running? You're drafted as a reluctant Nubian envoy and handed a gift of pebbles wrapped in a leaf. It's gold, explains the pharaoh girl, but lightweight gold. A mother leans out a window, shaking her laundry paddle. Stop sacrificing the cat. She hates being Anubis. The cat in question, now draped in a scrap of black linen, gives you a look of profound betrayal. The toddler king attempts to eat a sandal. The game dissolves into giggles and a very messy coup. The children's laughter fades as dawn bleeds across the horizon, turning the sky the color of a freshly split pomegranate. High above, the last stubborn star, Sirius, the Nile's herald, clings to the fading night like a drunkard to a wine cup. A half-awake priest squints at it from the temple roof, his ceremonial wig slightly askew. There asterisk you are, you fickle. Asterisk he catches himself, remembering his technically on deity peril. Radiant asterisk celestial beacon. Asterisk. Below, a baker's apprentice trips over a sleeping dog, sending a tray of rolls tumbling. The priest doesn't glance down. That's definitely an omen. Of something. He jots a note, then pauses. Or just clumsiness. The gods love ambiguity. The star flickers once, twice, then vanishes as if snuffed out by an impatient thumb. The priest sighs, and that's our cue. He lifts a heavy mallet toward the ceremonial gong, then reconsiders. Or, we could say the star lingered today. Give everyone an extra hour. From the shadows, a senior priest clears his throat. The Nile's rising doesn't care about your hangover. Tamos. The gong rings out, shuddering through the still cool air. Somewhere, a donkey startles and kicks over a water jar. Somewhere else, a scribe groans into his pillow. The priest watches the first laborers trudge toward the quarries, their shadows long and thin in the newborn light. They'll thank us when they are not melting by noon, he mutters, though no one's listening. Sirius is gone. The day, inevitably, begins. The gong's echoes fade as you drift toward the Nile's edge, where dawn's first light turns the river into liquid gold, or at least liquid electrum, if the Treasury's latest reports are to be believed. The air hangs heavy with moisture, clinging to your arms like a second skin. A fisherman untangles his net with the patience of a man who's argued with fish for 30 years. There asterisk you are, you little asterisko. Morning. Asterisk he nods at you, then glaze back at the net. This isn't knots. This is spite in fiber form. You dip your fingers into the water. It's warmer than the air, swirling around your wrist like a sleepy embrace. A frog plops off a lily pad, splashing your knee with perfect aim. HMPH, grunts the fisherman. That asterisk one's got opinions. Asterisk, downstream, a group of women laugh as they fill water jars, their voices bouncing across the surface. One's jaw has a hairline crack. She lets it leak just enough to draw a line in the wet sand. A quick, crude hippo. Her friend adds wings. There, now it's divine. The mist rises in curls, revealing a cluster of lotus flowers unfurling in the newborn light. A bee, already drunk on pollen, fumbles from bloom to bloom like a tiny, overworked tax collector. The fisherman finally conquers his net. Victory, he crows, just as a fish leaps from the water and slaps the net back into the river. The frog croaks smugly. Somewhere beyond the reeds, a heron strikes, its beak flashing silver. The Nile sighs and keeps flowing. The river's murmurs fade behind you as you climb the temple steps, where the morning hymn to Ra is not going well. A young priest sways on his feet, his chant dissolving into a yawn mid-syllable. Hail to thee who, yawn, art in heaven, or possibly Memphis. The high priest pinches the bridge of his nose. For the last time, the sun god does not take naps. He asterisk mumbles the exhausted priest, blinking at the horizon like it personally betrayed him. His incense burner tilts dangerously, spilling myrrh over the altar steps. Oops, sacred spill. From the courtyard below, a donkey brays. The high priest's eye twitches. Ignore the unholy herald of chaos. The young priest squints at his scroll, then holds it upside down. Wait, is this the hymn or yesterday's grocery list? A temple cat saunters across the altar, tail flicking the chalice of sacred wine. No one stops it. The high priest sighs. At this point, just hum. The chant limps onward, punctuated by yawns and the distant sound of someone dropping a very heavy something in the granary. The young priest gives up entirely and mimes the word while mouthing "help me." The sun, mercifully, rises without them. The temple's faltering hymns fade as you return to the Giza Plateau, where dawn's first light creeps across the Sphinx's ruined face. The ancient guardian's expression is, as ever, unreadable, though the way the sunlight lingers on its chipped nose might almost be smug. A tourist, well, an ancient Greek traveler, but close enough, squints up at it. So, is it supposed to look like that? His guide sighs. Yes. No. Maybe. The nose was an accident. The Sphinx says nothing. The Sphinx knows things. A sand fox darts between its paws, pausing to sniff at a dropped offering of figures. The Greek gasps. A sign. The fox urinates on the figs and leaves. The light climbs higher, gilding the Sphinx's headdress, then the pyramids behind it, 3 jagged shadows shrinking against the blazing sky. Somewhere, a priest yawns through the final verse of his hymn. Somewhere else, a baker burns the first batch of bread. The Sphinx watches it all, silent as the centuries. The Sphinx's silent judgment follows you into the cool dimness of a scribe's workshop, where a drowsy draftsman blinks at a papyrus scroll like it's written in hieroglyphs of pure exhaustion. You yawn. Want your eternal house designed now. He rubs a smudge of ink off his cheek, making it worse. You peer at his sketches, a neat grid of chambers, false doors, and one suspiciously well-labeled secret snack stash compartment. For the KA, he explains without conviction. Or mice. Whoever gets there first. A cat leaps onto the table, tail flicking across a half-finished vizier's tomb plan. The scribe doesn't stop it. That one's already cursed anyway. Third draft. He pushes your blueprint toward you. Standard package, burial chamber, offering chapel, optional mummified pet. No asterisk pets. Asterisk interrupts a voice from the doorway. The embalmer from yesterday leans against the frame, arms crossed. We're backlogged on sacred ibises. The scribe shrugs. Fine. Symbolic pet. Then, he scribbles a crude cat in the margin. Just pretend it's there. The dead won't know. Outside, the sun climbs higher, bleaching the world to gold and white. The scribe's eyelids droop. "Come back." "Never," he mumbles, face planting onto a pile of rejected tomb designs. The cat curls up on his back, claiming him as its own. The heat of the day settles over Giza like a heavy blanket, smothering the last traces of dawn's urgency. The quarries hum with activity, the market stalls unfold their awnings, and the Nile slides ever onward, carrying petals, fish scales, and the occasional lost sandal toward the sea. Some way, a priest finally finishes his hymn. Some way else, a baker sweeps burnt offerings under a rug. The Sphinx endures, its missing nose no impediment to smelling the centuries as they roll by, one lazy, sun-drenched hour at a time. You find a patch of shade beneath a palm tree, its fronds whispering secrets to the wind. The air smells of baking bread, fresh-cut stone, and the faintest hint of myrrh from the temple gates. A stray cat, possibly the same one from the embalmer's workshop, possibly its ghost, sidles up to inspect your sandals before deeming you unworthy and stalking off. The world slows. The light thickens. Even the distant clink of chisels seems to fade, as if the builders, too, are pausing to wipe their brows and stretch their backs. Somewhere beneath the sand, a pharaoh's sarcophagus waits, empty. Some way above it, a child laughs, chasing a hoop through the dust. The circle turns, the stars prepare their nightly dance, and the great, quiet machinery of life ticks on. You close your eyes. The Nile murmurs. The Sphinx keeps its secrets,